Welcome back to Movies Are So Back, the YouTube movie review channel where I, Ethan Simmie, ask the question, are movies so back? We are currently less than 100 days away from the 2025 Academy Awards, which means it's officially awards season. So I'm kicking off awards season here on the channel with my first Best Picture Power Rankings video. Now, I plan to do these every 2 to 3 weeks here on the channel, leading up to the biggest night in Hollywood that is taking place on March 2nd, 2025. So I'll probably do a good handful of these Best Picture Power Rankings video, just giving a basically benchmark of the 10 Best Picture nominees that I think are going to make it in at certain points in time all throughout the award season leading up to the 2025 Academy Awards. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for it. Now, we're still over 3 months away from the Academy Awards, so there haven't really been any precursor award shows to really base a lot of information off of. There have been 2 that are notable and worth mentioning. The Gotham Awards, which are kind of more just for funsies, not really tied to the Academy Awards, a whole great deal. And then we have the New York Critics Circles that just happened. That is more closely tied as really the first real precursor of the Academy Awards season. Now, I will talk about the winner of that, and it has had some effect on my power rankings here. But I want to go back to the Gotham Awards for a second because I think that's actually a fun place to start this power rankings. The winner of Best Picture at the Gotham Awards was A24's A Different Man, what I think is still one of the best and most underrated movies of the year. While I don't think this win here specifically is going to improve its chances of being in a Best Picture conversation or race, it did not make my list today, I do think it will bolster the chances that this movie has in other categories like Best Supporting Actor or Best Makeup. On the other hand, the Gotham Awards did nominate a movie that I'm including in the 10 here today. Like I said, kind of just for fun. I feel like it's still really early in the season to be getting quite deadly serious about this, and I want something that I want to speak into existence. So here it is. The Gotham Awards nominated challengers for Best Picture. I'm going to do it too. Is it going to happen? Geez, I hope so. That would be swell. Probably not, but right now on December 3rd, when I'm recording this video, I would love to see it happen, and I actually do think it's got a shot in the 10 slot. I think the Best Picture race is so up in the air that it's just too early to count out challengers. So at number 10, challengers. My number 9 is A Complete Unknown. Now, this is the Bob Dylan biopic starring Timothée Chalamet. This movie is really only screened for a small handful of industry members and critics and journalists. It's starting to go a little bit wider with its pre-screenings, but it's still not available to the wide public yet. I have not seen this movie yet, but what I'm hearing out of these screenings is a soft positive review of the film. The reason I included it here on the list is because it is a biopic, and as we all know, the Academy slurps biopics up with a spoon, and it's starring Timothée Chalamet, and it is a biopic about one of the most important musicians to ever have existed. It's just got Academy Awards written all over it. I don't think Best Picture will be its only nomination, of course. What else it gets nominated for, I don't know, but I'm interested to see how it plays out during the award season. I don't think it's a serious player in a Best Picture conversation, but it will make the 10 for sure. Number 8, Nickel Boys. This is another movie that I haven't had the privilege of seeing yet, unfortunately. I know a lot of people that have seen it. This is being regarded as a pretty masterful artistic vision and something that is truly genre defining. Again, I haven't seen it, so I can't really speak to that personally. But what is interesting and of note with Nickel Boys is that Ramel Ross, the director, did win Best Director at the New York Critics Circle. Something worth thinking about, worth mentioning, worth impacting a Best Picture race, that's for sure. I do think Nickel Boys is going to make the Best Picture. I can't really say anything more until I see the movie, but word on the street is good, and I'm including it at number 8 on my power rankings list. Now, number 7 is Dune Part 2. This is, again, an interesting movie because I don't really think it's in play for a Best Picture win. Dune Part 1, obviously nominated for Best Picture as well, along with several other categories, walked home at the end of the night with 6 Academy Awards, all below the line, which is really interesting. I think Dune Part 2 is going to be getting the Return of the King treatment, of course, with Lord of the Rings. The Return of the King garnered all of the Academy Award wins. The Academy knows that we are getting Dune Messiah. Denis has said it is coming. So I think they will nominate Dune Part 2 for Best Picture, just like they did for Dune Part 1. I think it's worthy of that nomination for sure, but I don't think it's a real player here. I think it is much more of a lock than anything previous on my list, especially, but it's not going to win. tune back in for Dune Messiah. Maybe that'll actually win. Who knows? But yeah, Dune Part 2, it'll get nominated. My number 6 right now is Emilia Perez. Now, this is the Netflix original film. I have this a little bit lower on my list than I feel like most people do. I think this is in conversation for a lot of people in like the 3 and the 4 spot. I just don't see it being that powerful, honestly. But it does have a lot going for it. Of course, we have Netflix behind the steering wheel, driving this into award season. We're going to have a large budget for their campaign, I'm sure, whenever they decide to turn that to 11. It's made by a pretty famous and well-regarded French director whom the Academy really appreciates and respects. It's also a movie that takes really big swings, and it's a musical. And again, the Academy loves musicals much as they do with biopics, and I think the Academy as a whole will recognize this movie for those things. It could be in serious contention come late January, early February. I just don't see it there right now. And I have a feeling that as the award season goes on and gets deeper, it's going to slide out of contention and make way for those more kind of prestigious movies that I think have a much more realistic chance of becoming front runners come March 2nd. Number 5 for me is Sing Sing. Now, when I first made my power rankings list for this video, I had it at like number 8. I had it a lot lower on my list. And then the Gotham Awards happened, and Coleman Domingo won an award for this film, along with Clarence Macklin winning an award for this film. And I know I said at the beginning of the video that the Gotham Awards kind of don't really matter and they're just for fun. And that is true. They're not really historically a big precursor to the Academy Awards. But I think it's interesting that those two people won for Sing Sing at the Gotham Awards, along with a news announcement that A24 will be re-releasing Sing Sing nationwide on January 17th. Now, the biggest problem with this movie so far has been the fact that nobody can really see it. It has only played limited markets for limited time spans over the course of like the last 8 months, and that appears to be changing. I take that as a very good sign that A24 is taking the Academy Award chances for this movie very seriously, and they're gearing up to have a very good rollout and Academy Awards campaign for Sing Sing. If it gets to the finish line and becomes a strong contender at the end of February, yet to be seen, but I wouldn't doubt that in a few weeks, this picks up more steam and finds its way up the power rankings list. It has always been in the mix, but I feel like it's finally starting to push towards the top. So my number 4 is Wicked, a movie that I think is fine to good and definitely not great, but is one that is climbing its way up these power rankings the closer we get to March 2nd and the Academy Awards actually transpiring. The movie's been performing so well at the box office. It is a global phenomenon and sensation, and there has been a lot of talk about this movie being a new front runner in the Academy Awards race for Best Picture. I think that's a little ridiculous. And then people out there are saying that John M. Chu is a frontrunner for Best Director. I think that's even more ridiculous, quite honestly. But I do think that Wicked is in a prime and poised position to gain momentum over the next 8 weeks and be a real contender to win Best Picture. And there's a couple reasons why. Not only would Wicked fill the bucket of the kind of global box office sensation that the Academy is always looking to include in their 10, but it would also mean that they get Ariana Grande specifically, along with Cynthia Erivo, at the Academy Awards, at the telecast on Hollywood's biggest night, and probably get them to perform Defying Gravity live. That's a big deal. You can't forget that this is a telecast and they want people to watch the telecast. And how do they do that? They respect famous people and famous cultural moments, and Wicked are both of those things. And I think it has a really good shot at being pretty high up on this Best Picture power rankings. Okay, now the top 3. Anora is 3. And this might come as a shock to some people. This has been kind of the clear front runner for the last 6 to 7 to 8 weeks. A lot of people saying, look, the Academy Award for Best Picture is definitely more up in the air than it was last year, because we all knew Oppenheimer was going to win last year. But Anora seems like a safe front runner. And to that I say, don't think so fast. Now, of course, I'm a little on the outs on Anora. I'm a little cold on the movie, colder than most, that's for sure. But I think Anora is peaking far too early in this campaign season. Neon has done a really sublime job of campaigning this movie, and it is a big cultural moment, and people are seeing this movie. It's doing great business at the box office, and it is kind of the talk of the film town. But that needs to keep going. You have to keep doing that for the next 8, 9, 10 weeks. And I just don't think Anora has that steam. And it just feels way too early in the season to call Anora the front runner. So I've got it at number 3. I feel really confident about that. I don't think Anora is going to win Best Picture, at least at this moment in time. I do not think it's going to Anora. Number 2 is Conclave. It's doing great business at the box office. It's doing great business on VOD. People are watching this movie. They are buying this movie. Older demographics have flocked to the cinemas to see this film. It is a genuine crowd pleaser. It is kind of for everybody, and everybody is talking about it. It is being memed left and right on social media. Super Yaki is coming out with t-shirts voting for Bellini. It's a moment, and much like Anora, I think it is catching a great deal of steam. Now, antithetical to Anora, I think it's doing so much slower, and I think that is very beneficial for Conclave, especially as we get into the longer stretch of the Academy Awards. You have to think early February to mid-February, when people start to really hunker down in their voting. When is your movie going to be peaking? Feels like Conclave could really take advantage of that. Plus, I think Conclave plays a great deal to the international body, and we have to remember that the Academy has really bolstered the vastness of their international voters as of the last few years. Now, the one thing I will say about Conclave that I'm a little nervous about is that it directly mirrors an election year, right? And it is all about the process of an election. Now, I know it might be a little weird to throw in the idea of an election when you're talking about the Academy Awards. They're just movies. I get it. It also impacts what people want to vote for. And look, we've already seen it being thrown out there for movies like Wicked, saying, hey, the election didn't go your way. Use the power of your vote to make the Academy Awards go your way. And I think that's frankly a little crazy and a little obtuse, but there's some merit there, and you can't disregard that. The number 1 spot right now on my Best Picture Power Rankings goes to The Brutalist. Now, The Brutalist did win Best Picture at the New York Critics Circle. Adrian Brody also picked up an award for Best Actor at the New York Critics Circle. And I think that did, for me personally at least, bump it up to the number 1 slot. I had it sitting around 2 or 3 for quite a while, and I think those really early season precursor wins bode well for The Brutalist, bode well for what people think about The Brutalist. Now, here's the other thing that I think is worth throwing into the conversation for this movie is that A24 is gearing up for a very long rollout of this film. It is hitting New York, LA, very limited markets on December 22nd, late in the year. And it won't be wide, really. We don't know when, at least not until the middle of January in 2025. And by the time that it does go wide, people are going to want to be talking about this movie week after week. And it's a great sign that A24 wants this movie to go all the way. Now, they did something really similar with The Zone of Interest last year. They had a limited rollout and then gradually had a very wide rollout. And people talked about that movie. I think it'll be the same for this film. And I think it bodes really, really well for the movie. I still hold firm that the top 3 in Anora, Conclave, and The Brutalist are kind of a big toss-up. I really don't think there's a strong frontrunner, and I think the margin between these, at least in my power rankings, might be a little wider than most, but it's still a razor's edge between all of these movies. I think that this is a very up-in-the-air year for a Best Picture winner, and that's kind of fun, and I'm really looking forward to a full award season of that, and of potentially and very likely switching my number 1 spot in my power rankings every time I make a video. So that is going to be something to look forward to. I am very interested to see how this Academy Awards season plays out. Will The Brutalist go all the way? I don't know, but I'm a Brutalist boy, and I sure hope so. Are movies so back? It doesn't really apply to this video, I guess, but yeah, sure, what the hell? Why not? Movies are so back. We're talking about the Academy Awards. The Academy Awards season is here, and I'm loving every minute of it. This is great. So yeah, movies are definitely so back. What do you think is the front runner for the Best Picture Academy Award right now? Let me know. Drop a comment below. Remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel. You can also find me on Letterboxd, and I'll see you in the next video.